Hello, this is Domenico with Easynomics, and this is part 3 of a 4-part video series on practicing quantitative questions for paper 3 with regard to price floors. This video can be found within various playlists. You can also search for it by clicking on this icon. You can find it within the government intervention playlist, where we go over indirect taxes, subsidies, price controls like price ceilings and price floors. There's a series of videos that goes over the theory behind it and also calculating with that model. And then also we have a dedicated playlist just for paper 2, paper 3 calculations, quantitative questions. And you'll find this video within that playlist as well. We're using wheat production in the United States as our applied example within this quantitative question. We can see the United States in 2021 was producing 44.8 million metric tons of wheat. The number one producer is China, then India and Russia. So let's take a look. All right, so here we see the workings from the previous video where we answered question B. In this video, we're going to be focusing on question C, and there'll be 2 videos to answer question C, which will illustrate 2 ways of calculating the welfare loss. So there'll be a link to this video if you want to see how to do the workings for calculating changes in producer surplus. So I'll get rid of this. And in the previous 2 videos, we've been in the habit of using the formula for the trapezium, calculating the surface area of a trapezium, which is a much faster way to calculate the change in these triangles as they get larger and smaller within the context of government intervention. So let's look at this last question, question C. So we're going to underline a few things. With reference to figure 1, explain the impact of allocative efficiency of the government intervention in the domestic market for wheat. And since we're provided by the IB on this kind of paper 3 type of exam, a matrix where we can make specific calculations, we want to show off to the evaluator that we can prove our reasoning, quantify our reasoning to support our answer. Allocative efficiency, the first thing that you should remember, or that should comes to mind, is the rule for allocative efficiency is to produce where MB equals MC, marginal benefit equals marginal cost. Supply equals demand at that point. Supply is equal to marginal cost. Demand is equal to marginal benefit. And so we can see that with the government intervention of increasing price from $230 to $290, we're no longer operating at the free market equilibrium. We've incentivized producers to increase their output from 24 million metric tons to 33. So to find allocative efficiency, we want to pay attention to what is the quantity of supply. And we can see that at the quantity of supply, here the marginal cost is greater than the marginal benefit. So that should be part of my answer. I can explain that as a result of the imposition of the price floor, the quantity of supply has increased from the free market equilibrium quantity of 24 million metric tons to 33 million metric tons being produced. So at the quantity of supply of 33 million metric tons, you can see that the marginal cost of that production is greater than the marginal benefit, which means that there's an over allocation. Oops, over my spelling. There's an over allocation of resources, land, labor, capital, to firms to the production of wheat versus what is desired by society, or the quantity desired by society. Can also highlight that the 33 million metric tons is greater than the free market quantity of 24 million metric tons right here. This is the free market quantity. All right, so we're way above that. And as a result of that overproduction, the cost to society is greater than the benefit to society. So there's a welfare loss there. There'll be a link to the video to go over where is the welfare loss. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video, but a student that's studied this knows that the welfare loss is right here, this shape that we have here. Okay, so this gray area is illustrating the welfare loss. Governments are spending $290 to buy the excess supply between 18 million metric tons and 33 million metric tons. So that's a lot of tax revenue that's being spent. And the only additional surplus that's being generated that didn't exist before was this triangular area that's going to the producers, this producer surplus. Everything else is kind of wasted tax revenue in theory. But perhaps for national security reasons, governments impose these price floors to stabilize their production and ensure that they're not dependent on other nations for their food production. So I can keep in mind that governments would consume that excess demand, so that actually you'd have D2, which would be equal to D1 plus the government purchasing the excess supply. In any case, let's go ahead and calculate the surface area of this this gray area. How would we do that? This is how. I'm going to use the trapezium formula. All right, and we notice that I have two trapeziums here. I have one trapezium that has this shape, and that's what I'm going to calculate first. And the formula for a trapezium is adding here in this case, the two heights, a plus b, multiplied by the base of c, divided by 2. So a plus b times c, and then dividing that by 2 will give me the surface area of this shape. So here I can see that. Here I have this height here, and then this height here, and so I want to add those two. So height of A is 290, all right? So it's 290 plus this height at 230 in brackets times this base of 24 million metric tons minus 18 million, I should say. And so that works out to 520 times 6 million. Okay, and that's going to work out to 3,120 million. And then I want to divide that by 2. So I'm going to get a final answer of 1,560 million. So that's the surface area of that shape. So great. I'm going to highlight that because I need that. So I have that shape, 1,560 million. Now I got to figure out the surface area of the other trapezium, and that's going to have this shape here. So it's going to look like this. Okay. So again, I want to add a plus b times c divided by 2. And so that's going to work out to, here we have this height, 290, times the other height of 230. That's the same as the previous trapezium, multiplied by a different base. You have 33 million metric tons minus 24 million metric tons. And so that works out to 520 times 9 million Okay, and that's going to work out to 4,680 million. And I'm going to divide that by 2. And so I'm going to get the final value of 2,340 million. Great, I got that area. So I'm going to highlight that, and I just need to add those two. So the sum of these two trapeziums will give me the surface area of this gray area that we see here. So let's go ahead and add that up, and then we'll be done. So I'll find some space over here. So we have 1,560 million, which is right here, plus 2,340 million. And so the combined surface area is 3,900 million. Okay. So there I'll highlight, there's my final answer. 3,900 million is the welfare loss, the total amount of tax revenue spent that's in effect been wasted because we've just produced more than what is actually desired by society. The fourth and final video, we'll go over another way of calculating this. If you don't want to use the trapezium, another way is to calculate the surface area of this entire rectangle and then subtracting this triangular area from that, and that would be another way to do it. So that'll be linked. If you have any questions, feel free to comment those questions below, and don't forget to subscribe and to like. Thank you so much.